Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning leadership meeting. My name is Susie Chiquino, for those of you who don't know me. I hope everybody had a great weekend, and we want to get this week jump started right. So I like to thank Stephen for having me host the call this morning. I was YouTubing yesterday all night long, trying to figure out what would be the greatest thing to do. And then, you get just, it's like binge watching. You're watching one thing after the other thing after the other thing. Then I couldn't sleep. So of course, that's not always good too. I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know which one I should pick. But so I'm going to share a video this morning that I thought that would be something that was on my heart, and I hope it would resonate with some of you guys today. And then I'll open up the call with maybe some discussion. So let me just make sure if you guys can. Can you guys see my screen? Great, thank you.
So what is a doer? The simple answer to that is a doer is someone who does, someone who takes action, who makes life happen. In today's day and age, it's easier than ever to live our lives from the sideline. We can live vicariously through the photos of others. With the rise of social media like Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, we can take a ride on a gondola through the Venice canals, or we can walk the Great Wall of China, all within the same day. We can go to a concert, or we can watch the engagement of a loved one without even leaving our bed. Now, as great as this technology is and may be, it fosters a culture of people that are content with experiencing the world without ever taking action, or they're content with living through the lens of others. I believe that there are two types of people in this world. There are dreamers, and then there are doers, the people that are willing to take action and make the world happen. So what does a dreamer or a doer look like? I really don't have an answer to that question, but I am going to start by sharing a couple stories of doers and dreamers in my life to just show you that that's not always what you may think. My friend that I went to college with, her name was Jessie. I've known her for about 5 years now. She graduated at the top of our class in the Michigan State Business School. And after college, she took a job out on the left coast in Silicon Valley. She's an audit accounting person, and she works with companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple on a daily basis. She's done some of the most incredible things and met some of the most amazing people out there. And outside of her corporate life, she's extremely passionate about human rights issues. She cares a lot about human trafficking or the gender wage gap, or just many different things that are very relevant in today's day and age. And she often has ideas that she can take her passions and make a difference, and she can raise money or raise awareness for these causes. And Jessie calls me a lot. She uses me as her sounding board for these ideas. And time again,
Excuse me, guys, maybe somebody has their phone unmuted. If you can mute it, I can't see the screen from this point.
Away by the complexity and how great these things could be if she just took action. But Jessie is a dreamer. Despite her incredible background, she doesn't take action, and she doesn't put any of these things, give them to the world. Another friend of mine, Ryan, who I've known since high school, is on paper the polar opposite of Jessie. He's entering his 6th year of college, still pursuing an undergrad degree. He lives at home with his parents, and he's been fired from 7 jobs in the past 5 years. But despite his tumultuous professional career, one might say, Ryan has something going for him that most people I know don't. Ryan is the epitome of a doer. He takes action about the things that are important to him, and he makes things happen. Since I've known him, he's raised thousands of dollars for charity and other causes that are close to his heart. He puts his passions into action, and he fires up other people and motivates them to join him in his causes. In high school, Ryan started his own media agency where he used to interview some of his favorite bands, and he would post music news. He was making hundreds of dollars a month while a 17-year-old because his site was getting so much traffic and advertisers were paying him to advertise there. He also could most likely go on his phone right now and call up any one of his favorite bands and have a good conversation with them. He's just that kind of person that's not afraid to take action. He believes in himself and what he stands for, and he had no problem putting himself out there and potentially failing, but he did it anyway. So now in listening to these stories, I hope you'll agree with me that sometimes someone's professional credentials or people might not be what they seem. How many of you out there fancy yourself as a doer? Good, I like to see that. Now the rest of you either aren't paying attention or are tired or whatever it is, or maybe you find yourself a little bit more like Jesse, where you're extremely passionate and you believe in something, but you might not know how to take that first step, or maybe you're just afraid to put yourself out there. I truly believe that all of us, inside all of us, we all have what it takes to do and to take action and to create change in this world. But the doers, the true doers, may just have a little bit more practice at it and might just have a little more experience in doing those kind of things. So I'm going to share a couple key traits that I think all doers possess and a couple exercises that you can enact in your daily life to practice them and maybe start doing on your own. The first trait that I think all doers possess is that they're confident. They're confident in themselves and they're confident in the decisions that they make. So then when it comes time to take action and actually go do, they don't second guess themselves. They believe in what they stand for and what they're doing. Now, it's estimated that the average adult American makes about 35,000 decisions each and every day. That's 35,000. Now, those range from hitting snooze on your alarm clock in the morning to how you're going to style your hair for your TED Talk, and to bigger things. I cut my own hair, by the way. I know my mom doesn't like it, but I styled it, To bigger things like where to place the health care of a loved one, or how to invest your money or your time. And a doer embraces these different decisions because there's no way that you can be correct on all 35,000 each and every day. But a doer recognizes that, and they're not afraid to take a little bit of a risk and make those big decisions. In fact, it excites them. Now, a simple exercise that you can try to be more comfortable with decision making and more confident in your decisions. Next time you're at a restaurant and the waiter hands you a big old menu with 50 different dishes on there, instead of reading through all 50 of them and potentially getting stressed out, what am I going to choose, what am I going to do? I want you to look at a maximum of 3 different options and select one as quick as you can, close your menu, and that's it. Some people are looking at me like I'm crazy. I've done this a couple times, and it's a really great activity because it forces you to stick with the decision that you made and be confident in it. And the good thing is that it's a very low risk. The worst that happens is that you don't love your dish, or if even worse, you might have to eat again when you get home later. But it's a very low risk thing, and it can really train yourself to be confident in your decisions. And so when it comes time to make those big decisions, like where to invest your money or what to do with something important in your life, you're that much more confident in yourself because those kind of things build on each other. You're more confident and you can easily take that risk, make that decision, and not look back. A second trait that I believe all doers possess is that doers are not afraid to ask. The fastest way to get to the result that you're hoping to is to make it known, be upfront with someone, and just ask them. But so many people are afraid to do that, whether it's the risk of failure or maybe they're afraid to talk to strangers. So if our lovely MC, Sam over there, if I had a pack of gum and he wanted a piece of gum, I wouldn't just happen to know that he was in the mood to get a minty fresh gum unless he asked me for it. Now that's kind of a silly example, but it can really transpire in all different walks of life. Another important thing about asking is that the world can really open up for you. My sister is dating a guy from Canada. He's from a small mountain town in British Columbia, and he's one of the most soft-spoken, gentle personalities, and he's such a great guy. He's really awesome. I'm really happy for them. But out of college, he found a job working at Quicken Loans in Detroit. He was selling mortgages to people over the phone. Now, anybody that knows anything about a Quicken Loans job, a lot of the entry-level jobs are calling hundreds of people a day. And think about when you get a phone call from someone trying to sell you a mortgage. It's either hang up or yell at them, take me off your call list, whatever it may be. The person on the other end of that line is getting rejected hundreds of times a day. And he would come home after 13, 14-hour shifts and say, yeah, I got 15 people to say yes to me today, so that's one more than yesterday, but still 200 rejections. Now, I would hate that. He didn't really like it either, but what he did, I really, really admire. Outside of his job, he challenged himself to be rejected one time each day in face-to-face. And his thought was that if he got rejected in person, it would be a whole lot easier to then get rejected the next day over the phone a bunch of times. So he would do things like when we would be at Kroger, we'd be going to check out, and he would come up to the cashier with his bag of avocados, and he'd set them down, and he would say, "These cost $1.50, but how about you give them to me for 50 cents? And the Kroger cashier would be all confused and say, "Can't do that, sorry." And as simple as that may be, those type of things over and over, they make you more comfortable with getting told no, because it's really not the end of the world. It might sting for a second, but you'll get over it. But the even cooler thing about this exercise that he did was the amount of times that he actually got told yes. He's gotten to do some incredible things that most people would never even think about just by asking. He got to ride around in a limo. He got to serve up a cocktail at a bar and take it to the person and deliver it like he was the waiter. He got to tour the meat smoker in the back room of an esteemed Detroit restaurant. I really like this exercise for two reasons. First, as mentioned, it builds up your immunity to being told no and to failing. There's nothing wrong with that. And second, is it's a win-win, because either you get rejected, which is what your goal is hypothetically, or you get to do something really cool. The last thing about not being afraid to ask is that when we want to start a business or an organization, whatever it may be, we're never going to have all the resources that we need. So the only way to get from A to B is to ask others for help or support, whatever that may be. And a lot of people don't use their ask, but you really have to in order to take action and make your dreams come true. The last trait that I think all doers possess is that doers not only are confident in themselves and what they stand for in their decisions, but they actually go and do. How many of you have had a great idea and thought about it and feeling really great about it, but then when it comes time, you're able to talk yourself out of it, kind of like Jesse? I know I've been there before, and I push myself every day to not do that, to take action. This past weekend, I had a really great experience that I think really fits well with this conference. We're all familiar with the tragedies that are going on in Florida and Texas right now. My business had a booth at Dally in the Alley in Detroit, which, if you're not familiar, it's a large block party with a ton of stages and music. There were about 15,000 people that attended it this year. And just outside of the gates, we were right at the end, just outside of the gates, there was 3 10 to 12-year-olds that had set up a lemonade stand. And I got all excited thinking, oh, look at these guys. They're young entrepreneurs. I love the ambition. And it turns out they were actually selling lemonade to benefit the survivors of Hurricane Harvey. I was deeply inspired by that. Not only were they were taking action and making things happen to make a better world, but they really embodied what this whole TED event today is all about, and that's thinking globally and acting locally. They took a macro problem that most people wouldn't know where to begin, and they broke it down into a small, actionable chunk of things that they could do and act on to make a difference in the world. These kids were confident in themselves and their decision. They weren't afraid to take that risk of setting up a lemonade stand all day and getting told no. They weren't afraid to ask people passing by if they would support their cause and buy their lemonade. And lastly, they didn't hesitate or wait too long, but the time was right, and they went and they did it. If they were to wait another 2 weeks, the hurricane would be old news, and there wouldn't be a music festival going on. And they might have still sold lemonade, but I guarantee that the impact they had by taking action right then and there was greater than it would have been 2 weeks from now. So I believe that everyone in here is passionate about something. There's something that fires you up, that keeps you up at night. And I also think that everyone in here is here for a reason, because people don't come to TED Talks because they're bored and they're looking for something to do on a Tuesday night. People go to the movies for that or whatever else. Everyone in here is here because you either are a change maker or you're on the brink of becoming one. So I implore you all to think about what you're passionate about. Be confident in what you believe in. Don't be afraid to take a risk. You're never going to have all the resources in front of you, so don't be afraid to just ask. And when the time is right and you believe it in your heart, go take action, because the world looks a whole lot brighter and a whole lot more clear when you're looking at it through your own lens. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back. I just thought that was a great little video. I was watching it last night, and I just thought to myself, really, oftentimes we start this business, and I think everybody mainly on this call is within Isagenix, and we want to start this network marketing business, and we have a dream and we have goals and we have a vision, but then we're not really pursuing it the way that we say we're going to do it. We're like, I don't know, for me, I've noticed oftentimes, it's like a football game. There's people that are playing inside of the game, and then there's the people that are on the sidelines watching the other people achieve the goals that they're wanting to achieve. And the only way for me to achieve those goals is to get into the game and get dirty and, play in the game. And that's like what Josh was saying to me was, if you don't ask the questions and if you don't talk to people, well, then how are you even going to be in this business, right? You're just kind of dreaming or wishing that's going to happen for you instead of working towards it. So I want to open up the call for you guys and see what resonated with you, or maybe something that we can discuss. Anyone want to share?
Hi.
Morning. Hey,
Morning.
Teresa.
Morning, everybody. What caught me was the willingness to ask. And I think a lot of times when people start this business, they're not really sure what to do. And they don't necessarily ask for help. They think that they should do it on their own. And then they struggle with it and they get frustrated. And I know sometimes people, like you said, people don't ask because they don't want to let other people know that they don't know, or they're worried that they're going to get rejected by the ask of help, never mind just asking people to listen to your presentation. And so sometimes the biggest, hardest thing to start with is asking.
Listen, what's the worst case scenario? You be in the same spot that you were in if somebody says no, right?
Yes, but I think people, they'll be embarrassed because now what do they think of me because they didn't say yes, like we as humans tend to do that. Although, yes, it's not a big deal. You're not going to die. You're not going to, fall off the face of the earth. You're not going to be shunned. You're just going to have somebody who said no, and possibly the no isn't necessarily a no. It's no, not right now, or I don't have enough information, or I haven't seen enough yet. Or what I've learned through all of this is sometimes it's just a question of timing. So your no isn't necessarily a no, but a lot of people are afraid of no.
You know what I tell myself, Teresa? If I don't ask, the answer is always no.
That's true.
I mean, that's how I put it to myself. I make it like a game for myself because you know what? Our mind can take us out of the game as quickly as it puts us into the game.
Yes, that internal chatter can be quite influencing, not necessarily in a good way. We need to turn the talk around to, yes, it's not a big deal. No, it's, I'm just offering it to them. I'm not forcing them. If they say no, they say no. If they say yes, fabulous, let's go. And yes, maybe I've not got a yes now, but maybe I've planted a seed.
Love that. Thank you for sharing, Teresa. I know it's difficult sometimes to even share on the call, right?
Yes. Thanks.
Thanks, Teresa. Anyone else?
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Teresa said because I was with a childhood friend this weekend, and he was saying how his daughter was all undecided about buying luggage. She was at Kohl's, and she said, "I can't make a decision." He said, "I'll be right there, about 10 minutes away." He goes there, and they decide what she wants, and they go up to the cash register. It was her birthday. So he says to the clerk, and she's like dying inside. He's like, "So do you have any specials that you can offer, like a birthday special?" And she's like, "Dad, why are you doing that?" And she goes, "Well, I have something as an employee. I'll give it to you." So he gave another $50 off of the thing. And it just like, it was so funny because you just start talking about that, and they might just say yes, so you never know. And he said he always asks. So I had that lesson earlier this weekend.
That's great to have. It's true though. If you don't ask, you
Mhm.
never know. That's the unknown that we're afraid of.
Mhm.
In business coaching with Lisa Nichols and Susie Carter and whoever, if you ask any business person, the bottom line of business is to know your numbers. So with network marketing, if you're clear on your vision and what you want, you have to know your numbers of how to get there. And if you know, as we know, like the roadmap to Crystal Executive and enrollments and all of that stuff, you have to know how much activity it takes to hit your own personal numbers. So when you're clear on your vision, it's creating milestones weekly and then knowing what you need to do each week to be on pace within your 90 days, to be on pace within your next quarter, to be on pace with your yearly goals. So you have to identify the breakdowns of where your lack of activity is each week to know if you're on pace. So in other words, if I'm looking to enroll 2 people every week, I need to know how many people I need to talk to get those 2 enrollments. So in the do and the have, it's when you're all about the do, that's all the action and it's emotionless. So, as far as ice breaking and meeting people, I've been traveling for 2 weeks and I have about 7 or 8 people I've connected with and I'm following up about Isagenix. And it's organic conversations and icebreakers. I just talk to people and I don't necessarily pound or even look for an intention to bring up Isagenix. But if it happens to come up or someone asks me what I do or it starts to lead to what they do, you find that the more people you talk to, it just organically comes up in conversation. And just a couple of quick examples. A couple of days ago, we were in this hotel, and I walked past this guy a couple of times, and he really legitimately looked familiar. I thought I knew him. And that's why I said to him, like, you look familiar, and, you're from this area, and, no, so whatever. We got into this conversation. It turns out we didn't know each other, but he's an ex-professional rugby player, and he's working for the same company that I left before I went to the company that I got fired from. So it just opened up this interesting conversation, and he was all over this. He was a network marketer. Can't wait to speak to me when I get back, And then I intentionally I went into this store of some really expensive sculptures. Like the lowest price was like 10 grand. The highest price was $250,000 for these sculptures. And I'm speaking with this guy, and I'm like, what's your business like? What's your ebbs and flows? Like, how do you, what's your income stream like with something that's this high end? And he goes, oh, it's feast or famine. And I'm like, are you an artist? How did you get into this? He's like, no, it just kind of fell into it. It's a family business, and it's just what I do, but it's like really feast or famine. So if you could bridge the gap and have another means of another means of income coming in, would you be open to it? He goes, no. So I walked away and I just laughed. So like, if you're counting your notes, it doesn't matter to me whether the guy does it or not. If he's stressed and he's worried about ebbs and flows of money and he's not open to even listening to something else, I could care less. Like I just went out and, it was no hard feelings. He wasn't interested. So it was, as far as like counting no's and thinking about how many no's and stuff like that, I don't know. I just find like we're getting, Ryan and I had so many great conversations this weekend. He brought up something that Eric Worre talks about. There's a lot of effort and time put into this without getting paid a lot in the front end. And then on the back end, you tend to get paid a lot more than you would ever think, But it's that trading time for the initial satisfaction of pay where most people will start to fade. So if you just know the numbers and know how many people you need to contact and stay focused on your number of enrollments and your goals and just do the do, inevitably you're going to have success in this. But if you put expectations and emotions around the numbers game, you're going to make it really challenging on yourself. So that's my piece to add to this. It's just staying consistent in activity and knowing what your numbers are and being black and white. We're drinking shakes. We're offering people vitamins. Like we're bringing them in community that's going to help them grow. Should be no fear or feeling bad about what we have to offer people. This is a gift. And if someone gets it or they're ready to get it, they're going to be really thankful when they get this in their body, and especially when they get into this culture and community and see this opportunity. And the last piece, Ryan and I went to Vancouver yesterday to meet one of his teammates, and he's in a business and he's in his 50s and he wants to get out of this business. He really like needs this income. He doesn't have a pension plan, and there's people like that, right, that really need this. We're bringing them into a group that's going to support them to get them to where they want to go, and just, again, bridging the gap. So I'm saying to myself, all of these people, especially, as you get later into life, and I'm nearing 50 now, what if I didn't have this? What about people that don't have pensions and work their whole life and are really in a financial situation that's somewhat dire? What are they going to do if they don't do this? So I'm confident that we have something that's extremely valuable to offer people. And if someone's not open to it, at least I was morally responsible to let them be aware that something like this exists, knowing that on the back end of it, they're going to get incredible support from a community that's going to be inclusive and wanting them to have the best of out of this. So that's my share. So thank you, Susie, for hosting these last two. Yes, I do have a voice. Yes, I have been talking and listening a lot, but it's all good.
Thank you. I love that share, Stephen. And I'll piggyback on what you said, something that I learned at David Wood also. It is the law of numbers, right? So if we consistently talk to 3 people a day, that's about 21 people a week, 10% of that would be 2 signups a week. But if you're not talking to that many people, you can't expect to talk to 2 people and have just 2 signups, right? It takes a large amount of conversations for you to get into that rhythm. And if you're not consistently doing it every week, it gets harder and harder, like my Jiffy Pop story, harder and harder to fill that pipeline because, it takes practice. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It starts to flow and you start to feel easier and more comfortable doing it. Thanks for sharing, Stephen. How about anybody else?
I'll share, Susie.
Morning, Tim.
Good morning. First of all, I just want to say that I'm very impressed between you and Steve. These videos you come up with are just fantastic, and I sometimes feel like I overshare on these calls, but every time these videos come on, there's something that really internally makes me go like, oh my God, that is just such a nugget there, and I love what Teresa and Debbie were talking about before, but I think that really what struck me was decision making. And when there's 50 decisions that are available, maybe just look at 3 and go. I think we all face that, right? It's just so common that what do I do? What do I do? I'm going to share this specifically because this is what struck me is that I'm currently in a position of transition. I have become so inspired by my Isagenix life that I look at my previous life, or it still exists, but my wedding business, my wedding and event business, and it takes up 1/3 of my house. It takes up 2/3 of my time. It's a big, complicated business that I have loved for decades. But that's not my future, and I know that now. And I've been chatting with my wife forever, like, oh, I got all that showroom space and the production space. And tonight, for the first time, I have 2 potential enrollees visiting my home. And they're coming to my wedding business that is now being converted. I mean, I got a display behind me, and I'm taking down some wedding pictures and putting up some before and after pictures. And the only reason I bring this up is that the decision to do that has been killing me. It has been killing me. And no matter how, I must have asked my wife 50 times, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't want to say this the wrong way, but she's like, dude, just decide. I'm behind you, but decide. So we do healthy happy hours, and I've been doing them in my living room, and that's fine. I'll do it wherever. I do them anywhere. But I have the space, and to make it available to my Isagenix world, listening to him talk and say, don't look at the 50, look at the 3, and then pick one and close the book. The fact that happened when literally last Thursday, I said, that's it. They're coming into my showroom, which has been for weddings for so long, and that's where I'm meeting them, and I'm converting it. I was like, oh my God. It hurt, and it's exciting. But to hear him say, just do it, and I heard my wife echoing while he was saying, like, oh my God. I could hear her say, dude, just make the decision. So I'm sorry, I'm going to continue a little bit, but I look at all those decisions along the way. Is Isagenix my future? Or is my wedding business going to continue? And all those decisions where you just have to decide. Lose the fear of failure. Don't fear it. Just failure is part of life. So just move forward. I look at every failure I have is a lesson in some way it's a lesson, and I learned from it. So I probably overshared again, but thank you.
I want to.
You can't overshare. That's one thing. I wanted to stop you in your tracks. That's what this call is for, right, Stephen?
I'd like to illustrate. I'm sorry. I want to illustrate the power of making decisions, right? And I want to go surfing on this wave too. So I come out to spend time at Ryan and Rhonda. They're in the living room to my left here, and they want to show me Victoria, and I would love to see Victoria, right? So we come out, and they have plans so we can go hiking and do certain things. And yesterday we had an opportunity to possibly go to Vancouver and meet with one of his teammates. So we just kind of went back and forth about it, and we made the decision to go to Vancouver. By going to Vancouver, he met a woman who became a prospect. I met a waiter who became a prospect. We met with his teammates, his husband and wife, who got to meet with Crosslines in Vancouver, and we brainstormed for about 3 hours, over like just some light food and stuff like that. Got them plugged into a sip and sample. There was one last night, there's one Wednesday night. We've been back and forth. Just, in texting, and we're setting up a Zoom. Actually, Rod just texted me, Ryan, setting up a Zoom tonight. We got so much done because we decided to go. We could have decided not to go, right? The entire day. And not only that, it was a beautiful boat ride. That was just a trip going, across the ocean over to Vancouver, a little part and all that kind of stuff. And we had this spectacular, productive day because we decided to do it. We could have decided not to do it, So in part with this, there's always a time and a place for everything. I can come back to Victoria and go hiking. We're going to go hiking today. I reschedule my morning, right, so I can get as much done today as that I want to, because my Mondays are really busy days. But we're going to still have some enjoyment today. And if it changes some other way and we'll be more productive doing something else, we won't. We may go hiking where we have signals in ourselves rather than going hiking where we don't. So with Isagenix, there is a bit of there is sacrifice, right? You get to choose what you want to do. But those decisions that we make now for our goals later will give us so much more freedom on the back end of this, rather than kind of half-assing it and doing it at a slower pace. Like, make some sacrifices now. And we had a ball. Like, we had fun doing it. We got to take a boat ride to Vancouver, and it was just a whole adventurous day, and so actually I got 2 prospects. Yes. Oh no, there was one. The other guy was in Victoria. So the point is, like, what this guy's saying is, throughout the day, 35, 50,000, whatever, I've heard different numbers of how many decisions we make. But what we're honed in, what the objective is, those decisions start to really mold and shape our lives.
Yeah, and what I was going to say, Tim, as a former business owner myself, I owned a brick and mortar restaurant business for 18 years. For those of you who don't know my story, it was such a hard decision for me to segue out of that business. I knew I had to create a certain income level before. So like Stephen was saying, I had to know my numbers. I knew by what date, by when, what I needed to do. I was going through a divorce. I mean, it was really difficult to navigate through that, but there was like thousands upon thousands of conversations that I had to have before that was going to happen for me. But it's so difficult, like having those 50 things on your menu and then choosing just the one thing when you have so much chatter going on in your brain. So I feel like personal development and getting clear on my why and getting clear on what my vision was, what my goal was, writing everything down, that helped me make those decisions. And, I'll forever be grateful for doing all that hard work and sacrifice. I missed everything, with my kids. I would put everything aside just to make sure I was working this business in the nooks and crannies of working a 60 to 80 hour work week, because this is so important to me. And this is where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in the restaurant business anymore. So the only way to effectively walk away from that was to create the income that was going to replace that. And if I didn't really do that dirty work in the beginning, like getting into the football field and getting dirty with the football, playing, then it wasn't going to happen. I could just sat on the sideline and watch the game happen and just dream about it. And, for me, like the last 2 years, I've been going through kind of like back into the dream mode. And now I'm like, okay, now it's time to wake up, set my intentions and goals again and go for it like I did in the beginning. Right? So, because we all fall off up and down, there's ebbs and flows in this business. And, it depends on our environment. And once we change our environment, we can change our world, right? Anyone else want to share?
I do.
Hey, Laura.
Tim. I feel like Tim. I don't want to overshare and jump in here, but
okay, let's set this straight. There's no oversharing.
I know. I know.
Everybody's call, not just for us.
I'm so distracted over this wave over Steven's head. It's like, Doc. No. Yeah. It's totally going on in my head. Hawaii 5-0. No. I hear what you're saying, Tim. Myron and I, we were put into retirement early because of physical reasons. Our health was horrible. But now that we've done what we've done in this last 2 years, it's a little scary. Like you said, Tim, changing your showroom, taking on something new. We associated working with stress. And we've been pretty stress-free over the last 2 years. So it's kind of like you've got brakes going like this because you don't want to get into that. But we do. We want to do this business. And I had a really good friend yesterday tell me that I said, I'm just scared. And she said, good. You should be, and enjoy it and embrace it because something really good's coming. You're growing. We're getting ready to jump through something, and I can feel it full board, but you also feel that deception seeping in because she explained that your old patterns are dying. They want to know why you're not using them anymore. They're still there. That's why we go through the cycle of growth over and over and over again, because we're always going to hit that deception part. And for me, I've been in that for the last few weeks, and it sucks. And I knew I had to stay excited, but it was a little hard to. So having this type of forum and having Isagenix be, push us to improve ourselves, I know I'm in the right place. There's no company I've ever worked for. There's no one I've ever worked for, not even myself, that's given me the freedom and the safety, a safe place to do this. Where else can you get up on a Monday morning and talk like this, and have these kind of people in your life? Because I needed a push. And that's why I got up really early and got on here, even though I'm at my daughter's, because I knew I needed to be here this morning. And I need to change my showroom, just like Tim. And it's a little scary because it's been like that for so long. And I think it's awesome that I'm ready. I mean, I think we all are. It's just got to stop, like you said, making it about us. Those no's aren't us. Those no's are, I don't know right now. And that's how I keep going with it. And I know that because I've had people 2 years ago tell me no, and a month ago call me and say yes. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And thank you guys so much for pushing and just for being there. And Steven, don't get too wet.
Thank you, Laura, for sharing. And you know what about the nose? It's so funny when you have Steven's so silly. When you have little children, or if you've ever been around little children, how many times you say no, no, no? They still keep asking. If we become resilient like that and not make it about, because they don't take it personal, because they don't know any better, right? But if we don't take it personal and we just keep going, because no is not about no to you. No is about no, they're not ready right this second, right? Thanks. That was a great share, Laura.
Actually, I'm going to follow something up because it's really important. The people who I'm meeting tonight, about a year ago, when my wife and I, when our physical change was very apparent to people. Just a really good friend from church said, I really would love it if you'd talk to my niece, because she really needs whatever it is you have. And I said, yeah, of course, I'll definitely. That was over a year ago. That's who's coming tonight. So how many times I do my follow-ups? I don't overdo it, but I follow up. Yeah, that for a year. And that's who's coming tonight. And if I ever took it personally, there's no chance you'd ever survive in this. And I'm going to tell you one more thing, because I just really want to follow up what Laura said. I personally have identified myself as the wedding guy. I've been the wedding guy for decades. And that's the struggle. My personal identity was being challenged internally, but it was being challenged. And when you make a decision, I will tell you this, that when you finally do make a decision, the evidence that your decision was right or wrong is available to you, no matter what. No matter what you decide, you'll find the evidence to prove you were right or wrong. It's just what you're looking for. So my weddings, as much as I love them, they're very complicated. It's very, very complicated. And it's also extraordinarily emotional. So you're not only dealing with what you literally have to do in scheduling staff and itineraries of the day, all these things before, during, and after. It's a very, very lengthy process. It's very, very complicated. But you're also then put an emotional bride on it and then throw her mom in. Oh my God. But I've dealt with it for a long time because I did love that. So this decision that, okay, my showroom's going to start getting converted, it's the right decision. It's in my head. It's right. It's time. It's final. And what happens this morning, knowing that today's the day, I got to start changing things over there. 2 emails come in about more complications from, if this is something I already delivered. And I'm going, there can't be something wrong. I know this is right. And I'm finding more and more evidence that my decision is right. So when you make a decision and you want it to be right, you can make it right. You just need to know it's right. You've made the decision. Aim in that direction. You will not fail. You will prove that your decision is the right decision.
Love that. Thank you, Tim. We're coming up on quarter of the hour. Anyone else have some last minute shares?
Thank you, Tim. You got me fired up right now. And I am a mother of the bride right now. So, oh my God, that is so funny. We're a week away.
Good luck. Good luck.
I love you guys. And you know what? These calls are amazing. And we all got this. We got this. We have such a big gift to give. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm all in.
I had some big shoes to fill today, Stephen. Thank you so much for letting me host. I hope it was valuable for you guys. Stephen, I hope you're having a great and safe trip out there. And we'll see you guys next week. All right. Love you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Susie.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.